Here in the cold, hard winter months, it's hard to get good lighting for the show, so I figured I'd do this one by candlelight. How you doing? Sunday, bloody Sunday. Week 13 proved to be unlucky for a few in the coaching profession. Jason got time and a half. The heads were flying at a rate that would have made Henry VIII seem conservative. Even Bloody Mary started blushing. Oh look, I've gone and exhausted all of my old England decapitation jokes. The sacking of good old Gene Chizik I opened up a fourth coaching position in the SEC, who ironically is at its apex in the BCS era. Translation? The SEC has 6 teams in the top 10. What?! Yep, we were a mere Notre Dame upset away from the league grabbing the top 3 spots for the second year in a row. But honestly, 6 in the top 10 looks more impressive until you factor in those are the only 6 that are ranked at all. Can you say top heavy? Back to The Walking Dead. Chizik's steady decline turned epic nosedive now begs the question, who will take over in the SEC's bottom third? Let's talk Jon Gruden. Ha! Okay, I won't talk Jon Gruden. He's a long shot for anyone on the college level, and unless no big NFL jobs open up, which never happens, college football's not on his radar. People will bring up Bobby Petrino's name for obvious reasons, but if Kentucky won't even give him the time of day, he seems a little more suited for the Cal job out west. Jimbo Fisher's name has been brought up often, but I think that's more due to his frustration at Florida State and not being able to break into the top tier. He's coached in the SEC before, but he'll give FSU a chance to switch conferences, and if not, then I think he'll look elsewhere. Gus Malzahn will be on Arkansas and Auburn's list, but I have doubts about the defense he would put on the field. Kirby Smart's been mentioned as well, but if Alabama wins another title, it only inches Saban closer to retirement and Smart as his successor. The cupboard is pretty bare as you look across the coaching landscape this offseason. Many teams may look to the NFL for options more often than not. The Big East and Big 12 conclude their regular seasons this week, but otherwise this weekend is known as Championship Saturday. The ACC will feature Florida State and Georgia Tech for its championship nightcap, so we'll start there. It's going to be a blowout. That was easy. Okay, the real ACC championship happened back in September, and Georgia Tech is really only playing by default. The Yellow Jackets only have the 3rd best record in their own division, but they inexplicably slaughtered North Carolina for that tiebreaker, and then Miami ruled itself ineligible from the postseason, giving the spot up to Tech. Other than that, they totally deserve to play for a BCS bid. They only got destroyed by Georgia, and BYU, and Middle Tennessee. The SEC championship can go one of 2 ways. It can get ugly fast, like last year, or it can get uglier in a more slow and painful fashion. Alabama's favored by more than a touchdown, but Georgia's patsy schedule isn't doing it any favors. The only big win was a sloppy one against Florida that gave Aaron Murray his 3rd win in 12 tries against ranked opponents. That's bad. And Georgia's coach, Mark Richt, is only 6-15 since 2008, the year that Alabama blasted him from his only #1 ranking ever. Double negative! If they're planning revenge, they'll have to strike early and often where Alabama's been the most lax, in the first half. From there, Georgia's defense will have to hold out. They have more talent overall than the Tide, but they aren't nearly as effective with it. Bottom line, I simply don't trust Aaron Murray. His propensity for turnovers against stiff competition already puts him behind the 8 ball despite his impressive career. I do think the defense can keep him in it, but if Georgia pulls the upset, it'll be the work of Jarvis Jones and Bakari Rambo. The matchup to watch, though, freshman running backs on both teams will be asked to perform on the biggest stage. Mistakes will be made, but whose will be the biggest? Now that the regular season is over, it's time for the college football edition of the Southern Sports Awards. You would look forward to it every year, but I totally just created it. Heisman, Schmeisman. The catch here is it's strictly Southern and the candidates are too. So if you're looking for some Notre Dame or Ohio State, I apologize. But I secretly don't care. First off, as many teams as there were that fell off in 2012, just as many saw a big improvement. This year, Duke saw their stock rise, and now they have a chance to win more games this season than in the last 2 combined. David Cutcliffe also signed on through 2019, so the Dukies have reasons to be excited about the future. But I can't give them the most improved. The Blue Devils were blown out several times near the end of the season, and have now lost 5 of their last 6. Texas A&M has to make the list and took the SEC by storm in just its first year. Kevin Sumlin is a Coach of the Year candidate and has his QB Johnny Manziel in serious contention for the Heisman. More importantly, the team has changed its identity, now holding on to their leads behind an aggressive defense instead of being the perennial chokers of old. Still, I have to give the award to one of the teams that was able to beat the Aggies early on in the season, the Florida Gators. Despite the recent struggles, Will Muschamp has his team in the top 5 already with 4 more wins than last year and a sure spot in the Sugar Bowl. Muschamp may still have a few detractors, but they're fading fast in Gainesville. Muschamp also has to be mentioned for Coach of the Year honors, but the competition is fierce. Hugh Freeze has led perhaps the most miraculous comeback of the whole season. Let's be honest, Ole Miss was pathetic and going nowhere, but in 10 months Freeze has them bowl-bound with a long-awaited win over Mississippi State. It's been a great turnaround, but I'd hold off until year 2 to hand Hugh any hardware. Nick Saban has seen little to no drop-off after losing several key contributors to the NFL last year. He continues to have his teams in the BCS mix every year, and now has a chance for a 3rd title in 4 years. But to me, Kevin Sumlin is the runaway Coach of the Year, and not just in the South either. Coming into a new conference, Sumlin already has the Aggies established with a 10-2 record and a huge upset in Tuscaloosa. Over the last few years of conference realignment, no coach has had such a seamless transition. Nebraska, West Virginia, and Missouri all ran into brick walls while A&M made SEC opponents adjust to them. Offensive and defensive MVP races were packed this year, so in the interest of time, I'll speed through them. This year I had C.J. Mosley, Jarvis Jones, and Jadeveon Clowney as the top defensive studs, but after this weekend, I had to go with Clowney. Only a sophomore, Jadeveon finished with 13 sacks and 21.5 tackles for loss, including 4.5 sacks against Clemson. The guy truly can't be contained, and to me, it's not even a question who's going to be the early favorite for #1 pick in the 2014 NFL Draft. Quarterbacks dominated the offensive side of the ball with A.J. McCarron, Aaron Murray, Taj Boyd, Landry Jones, and Johnny Manziel. McCarron and Murray are tops in the country in QB efficiency. Boyd's numbers jump right off the page, and it seems like Landry Jones' draft stock goes up every week. Aaron Murray also became the first SEC quarterback to pass for more than 3,000 yards in his first 3 seasons, but it all pales in comparison to one Johnny Football. Maybe you've heard of him. Manziel finished the regular season with 4,600 total yards, an SEC record, and nearly got Texas A&M to the SEC championship in his first year. He'll be headed to New York as the Heisman frontrunner, and you've got to wonder if teams will be able to catch up to him in the offseason. That's my time, but I'll be back next Monday with my Week 14 wrap-up, and in the meantime, stick with RandallSportsReport.com for all your Southern sports needs. So until next time, I'm Seth Hagan, and that's your Week 13 wrap-up. We'll see you later.